Hello, everyone. Welcome to The Greater Good. You know, we started this show a few years ago based on my assertion that there are so many great people throughout San Diego County that contribute, not so much in just writing a check, but they are boots on the ground. They get a lot of things done. They have big hearts. And without those great people, you know, what would our county be like? So today is no exception. I'm really excited to have Chief Magda Fernandez with us. Today, she's the chief of the San Diego Harbor Police Department, Port of San Diego Harbor Police. And hi, Chief. How are you?
Hi, Jeff. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my gosh. It's such a pleasure. You were on my show about a year ago,
Yes.
right? And we talked a lot about the COVID and restrictions and how much of a burden that was for the department. But now it's a different world again.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We're almost back to the new normal.
So what's that going to take?
Well, it's a lot of work. You know, it's going to take a lot of revamping of what the policing looks like now with new legislations in place, post-COVID, post civil disturbances that we saw across our nation. And we're still reeling in from that. And, you know, we had a lot of people retire or choose to leave the profession altogether. So we're still recovering from that. I got to give props to our recruiting team and our hiring, human resources hiring team for doing such a great job with recruitment, retention incentives. The port has been very supportive with all of that and making sure that we're doing the best we can to recruit and retain and invite laterals to apply to the department. So I think across the board for this last year, we've done an incredible job recovering.
So for my viewers, what's a lateral?
Oh, I'm sorry. So a lateral is somebody that has law enforcement experience, ideally California Post certified, but we'll take them from anywhere. That have that law enforcement background that want to apply to be a harbor police officer.
So post-training is the state of California's certification program where...
Yes. Every state has their own certification for law enforcement. California is post, peace officer standardized training.
Right.
And but anybody that has prior law enforcement experience can apply, and they can actually challenge post.
Oh, really?
Or test with post, and Post can do an assessments of their trainings and let them know what they need. Sometimes they can just lateral over, or other times we would need to send them through the academy. It just depends.
It's like when I went to law school, you could challenge a class. If you thought you had that material down, you'd have to take the examination, you know, without doing the coursework, which in my estimation is not appropriate because you really need that, you know, face-to-face communication with your instructors, or in the case of Post, you know, hands-on, get a feel for the dynamic of what California law enforcement officer training is all about. But you said something about recruiters. So are you hiring?
We are currently hiring. We're hiring trainees and laterals to apply and be part of our great team. So if anybody's interested, they can go to portofsandiego.org/careers, or they can reach out to me and I can direct them to a recruiter.
How would they reach out to you?
They can reach me through email at mfernand@portofsandiego.org.
Wonderful. So what are your numbers like? Without getting into real specifics, are you getting new recruits and people into post-training?
Yes. So we are actually very fortunate. Like I said, our recruiting team has done an amazing job. Actually, next week, we will graduate 12 from the academy.
Wow.
We recently graduated 7, and after the 12, we'll graduate 6 more. So we're fortunate to have a lot of people that are getting trained.
That's fantastic. I read that the Port of San Diego's Harbor Police is, I think, currently the most high-paid law enforcement agency in the county. Is that true?
That is true. For
Wow.
now, we are the highest paid, yes.
For now.
For now.
So it's a competition, I'm sure, throughout the county. How's the rest of the county doing with recruits and trainees?
I think we are all doing, I'd like to say okay. I keep going to graduation ceremonies, and We see a lot of new faces graduating as new trainees for each respective agency. So I think our law enforcement family here in the region continues to grow.
Yeah.
And the benefit is we're all trained the same. We all speak the same language. We all graduate together. So it's a huge benefit. I think that Academy creates a force multiplier for the entire region.
Yeah, plus there's that bonding issue.
Absolutely.
Irrespective of whether it's, San Diego police officer or Encinitas, Chula Vista or whatever. So then that's someone that you create a bond with throughout your career. As long as you're here in San Diego, you can reach out to that person. And
Absolutely.
that really, really helps a lot. So about a year ago when I interviewed you last, and you were just promoted to be chief, which was a huge deal nationally. And in fact, I recall a great article that was written about you through a magazine and a journal. I forget the name of it, but you got a lot of press on that. So here we are a year later. How are you feeling about your job?
That's a loaded question.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm feeling great about my job. If I would say that I'm very fortunate to work for the port, but more importantly, I'm very fortunate to have the team that I have. I give a lot of credit to our officers because without them, we don't have a harbor police, and without the customer service they provide to our tenants and to our communities, which is they provide top of the service response. I can't speak high enough of what they do. We ask a lot out of them, and they're very resilient. Through everything that we have been through as an organization, they're very resilient. I'm very proud of them, and I can't speak high enough about our command team. They have done amazing work in helping keep the Harbor Police ship moving forward.
Yeah.
Through tough waters.
Yeah.
And we're settling down now from last year, and now our focus is getting broader.
Right.
We're settling down with staffing. We're settling down with legislation, mandates. Although I don't think that'll ever stop. I think we're kind of, as a new command team, we're reining the helm better.
That's great. Yeah. Well, that's where your leadership skills come into play, of course. So you used a word called resilience, and in law enforcement, what does that relate to?
So, very broadly, police officers see a lot, go through a lot, not just at work, but at home. We deal with a lot of, or we see a lot of things that most people don't. I think an officer, in comparison to a non-officer, like a civilian, if you will, sees 300 more cases of trauma than the regular person does.
Right.
And that it's not normal. It's not normal, and we need to make sure that our officers are equipped to deal with what they see, that they have the resources to deal with their feelings and process all that, and to have continuous support. And across the board, for me, it's not just mental health, it's physical health, it's career development, it's financial health. It's all of that mixed into one, that when an officer comes and works for the organization, that they're going to have all of that. And it's very important, so when they retire, they're as whole as we can make them.
Right.
Right. And I think that's part of our resiliency. We have to be able to empty out that full bottle, if you will, of things that we have gone through, experience, trauma, not just at work, again, like I said, at home and everything in between that affects an officer. Because if officers are not, if they're not resilient, and it's not just officers, it's from the command team, from the top all the way down and to the sides with our professional staff, with our dispatchers, with our community service officers, with everybody across the board. We're all impacted by this profession.
Right.
And officers really, or employees, I should say, it's not just our officers, need to be resilient so we can come back and do it again and give you, or give our communities 100% and give our families 100%. And that's very hard right now.
So, what does that look like? Is there specialized training that people go through, or is it just more of a holistic sort of approach to the issue throughout the department and the port?
It's a holistic approach. It's not a one one size fits all.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has different needs, and everybody approaches these situations very differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, it's not just the mental health, right? It's the physical health, it's financial health, it's career developments, it's all these different facets into one. And we're fortunate to have the Harbor Police Foundation that helps us with what they can in respect to like our fitness. They've helped us get a gym with the top of the line equipment. And there's a fun factor associated with that, right? We have ping pong tables, and we have other games that officers have brought in or other entities have donated, along with our top of the line equipment where officers can be fit. We have, through our peer support program and our chaplaincy program, we have a resiliency training that we have brought into the department that has been very effective, in my opinion, of course, has been very effective. And they're basically teaching resiliency and what we can do to improve our resiliency across the board. And this is offered for all staff members at the Harbor Police.
Oh, really? I thought it was just for sworn.
No, it's across everybody.
Well, that's a really good point. I was speaking with one of your dispatchers the other day, and they were saying that, their job is really intense, very mercurial, some slow periods, and then it spikes up. And one of the things that is concerning to them is that they see the front end of an incident when there's a call for service, but they don't often understand or know what happens at the end. And so they only get a portion of the story, which can be really frustrating.
So for dispatchers, it's hard because they are not on scene and they're listening to what's happening. And I think sometimes we create that story in our heads, and sometimes it could be worse than what it actually is, or lessen maybe just by the nature of the trauma. And so it's hard. It is very hard. And yes, sometimes as police officers, we go, and then move on to the next call, and dispatchers move on to that next call, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to be very proactive in bringing in our mental health professionals to do debriefs, diffusions and debriefings after a critical incident, and invite everybody into that one room so we can all get that closure.
That's a really great idea. Yeah, really, really important. So physical health, emotional health, and of course, police officers, like everyone, they love to eat. So there's always that food component involved. I think at one point you and I figured that we had provided about 7,000 meals over the last couple of years in various forms throughout the department. It seems like a big number, but if you break it down with 140 officers and another 35 or 40 staff, those numbers, they're really not that big. But yeah, how does food play into the life of a cop?
Every day there's food at the Harbor Police Department, and we love it. We love it. I think it helps bond.
Yeah.
Right? And we all can sit around and break bread and talk about life.
Right. Right.
And we're fortunate to have the Harbor Police Foundation sponsored collision space.
Right.
That's where the magic truly happens, with snacks and food and people actually colliding and having conversations about stuff.
So just to clarify, there's a term in corporate world called collision space, and it's that area within your working environment where everyone collides at some point throughout the day or during the week or whatever it is. And so a few years ago, we took a kind of a tired spot in the department headquarters and refreshed it in a pretty dramatic way and brought in a coffee machine, which I was just there today, and I think it's the head of your landscape department, the only reason he stopped by was to get a cup of coffee from that machine. So you're right, it does create a nice sense of community.
It does.
Yeah, yeah. So The Harbor Police Department's been around since 1964, 1962. And you're the first woman Latino police chief in that department. Is that correct?
I'm the first homegrown Latina chief, yes. I'm the second female.
I remember, but was she Latina?
No.
Okay. So globally speaking, what do you think that means when people look at the profile for your department and they see this attractive Latino woman as the head of that department? How do you think that translates throughout San Diego County or anywhere?
Well,
you want me to rephrase?
No, I think I don't know because I'm not seeing it through their eyes, right? So it's hard for me to speak from their perspective.
Right.
I can tell you what it means to me as a female leader, ranked leader, I guess, within the organization, and how I use this platform, if you will, to make a difference or an impact within the community. It's important. It's very important for me that young ladies see themselves in me, not just in this uniform. I understand that a lot of women may not be interested in law enforcement.
Sure.
But they can see themselves in this uniform. And if they never thought about it before, now they can think about it to say, you know what? I too can be a chief of police. Mm-hmm. I too can be a police officer and rise through the ranks and beat all odds. Because, it's hard. It's hard for women as it is. And it's hard for Latino women to make it into those ranks. And that's why we celebrate these big accomplishments.
Right.
Sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you missed if you never had it. Mm-hmm. And when we come from underserved communities, we don't even know, right? And I think it's important for women to know, or young ladies, or even young men to know that all you got to do is set your goals and work towards those goals and stay focused, because at some point, I'm just as surprised as everybody else,
right? But
you too can do it.
Yeah.
But it's taken a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of compromise to get here. And this role is very important to me because I care deeply for the organization that gave me an opportunity to be successful. And I care very deeply about the people in our department because they're very dedicated and they're hardworking and they genuinely care about the people that they serve, about the community that they work in, about the port that hired them and gave them an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's personal.
Right.
It's and it's very meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I'm blessed, because I don't know that I would ever achieve this position, this goal, this accomplishment in any other field. That's just me personally, but I'm very passionate about police work too.
Yeah, right. Well, your whole work life has sort of ingratiated you into that. Yes. You've had passion with your work with the Coast Guard, investigations, and then with the department. And I think you told me that you've had, within your department, you've done pretty much every single job.
For the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part. I've done every, I was part of the training team. I was part of the investigations intelligence department. I was a detective. And I've had a lot of collateral assignments from vessel collision reconstructionist to peer supporter to boat instructor, just different things that I've managed to do. But I think between myself and Assistant Chief Jeff Geary, we have done everything.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing.
So we have different perspectives and different views on things, which makes us better because it makes us think outside of that box and push each other.
You talk about how you respect your team, and if anyone's listening, if you walk in the halls of headquarters, the respect goes right back to you as well. And that doesn't come just naturally. The respect is earned. And, you know, it's not many leaders that earn that respect, honestly. A lot of people intimidate their employees or their staff or approach issues with may have a more of a dictatorial approach, but that's not your style.
No, I don't have time for that style, honestly. I wholeheartedly trust our team. I wholeheartedly trust our officers. I sleep well at night knowing that they're out there, that they're the ones that were hired to do this job. We recently promoted 9 people, and I am very honored and I'm very humbled to be the chief that promotes them. They are amazing group of officers. Listen, we had over 30 applicants for these processes. The people on this was the hardest decision of my career as a chief,
Really?
was making those selections.
Yeah.
I did lose sleep over that.
Wow.
Because they're so good. And if I had more positions available, I wouldn't have a problem filling those positions.
I apologize. I'm not the least bit surprised that your candidates were really remarkably well prepared. I had the privilege of being on a panel with one of your lieutenants and a detective when we created, when your department created the Human Trafficking Liaison Team. HTLOs, as you know, we like to have some sort of a way to tongue twist.
Right.
Yeah, every chance you get. But and so we had 5 slots that we were going to be offering these officers, and we had 11 candidates, and they were so prepared. You would have thought they were, arguing their dissertation. I mean, they had notes and they had taken courses outside of work, and I went back to my board of directors and I said, we need to toss in a lot more money here and let all 11 of them, come on board. And now it turns out you have the largest human trafficking liaison officers team in the nation. So
yeah,
almost 10% of your entire force is specifically trained in human trafficking, and that is amazing.
And that's just a snippet of the qualifications that our entire department has.
Yeah.
Very proud of them and very proud of that team.
Yeah, you have officers who are master's trained. You've got some former doctors on board. I'm thinking specifically of Lieutenant Dye. What an amazing team you've got.
Which is great because they bring in different experiences, different perspectives, and all we got to do is be willing to listen, right?
Listening.
Be willing to listen and
concept.
Take their ideas. And I constantly tell the department, this is your department. I'm here to support you, but ultimately to move the department into the future, we have a vision and we need to drive that forward.
So what does the future look like? I mean, you've got a lot of redevelopment. You have a lot of new huge projects going out through your 5 jurisdictions. For my listeners, that means that you have jurisdictional power in San Diego, Chula Vista, National City, Imperial Beach, and Coronado. So there's a lot going on. You've got this huge new golf project coming in. Maybe we can talk about that. You've got new hotels. What does the future of your department look like? And are you ready for that?
Are we ready? We're getting ready.
You're getting ready.
We're getting ready.
Okay.
So we're doing a big staff assessment right now to really determine the needs of the department, right? So I'd love to tell you that I just want to hire another 100 police officers, but is that really what we need? I'm not sure. So we're going to contract a company to come in and do a full staffing assessment based on the growth of the organization as a whole, and take a holistic approach at what we really need, and then come up with a strategy for that, and what that long-term strategy is gonna, how we're gonna grow and be able to accommodate with budgets, accommodate with equipment, accommodate with supporting personnel. Because it's not just hiring police officers, it's everything else that it takes to support those police officers.
Yeah, all the foundational.
Absolutely.
The physical plant, the equipment, just the whole raft of additional elements that puts an officer into a vehicle or a boat or at the airport or convention center, wherever their mission for the day is. So for some of my listeners, they don't really know anything about the Port of San Diego Harbor Police. In my estimation, I think it's one of the coolest law enforcement agencies around. So what's so special?
I concur with your estimation.
Surprise.
Well, we're special because we're a very diverse organization in our missions. So we have our regular patrol mission, which you see most municipalities do. But we encompass 5 member cities. So it requires us to work with 5 member cities and have those relationships. Mm-hmm. We also have San Diego Bay. So San Diego Bay touches those 5 member cities. Mm-hmm. And we respond, we have assets on the water. Traditionally, we staff 1 boat in the north, 1 boat in the south. So one closer to Shelter Island, 1 closer to Chula Vista. And we deploy our vessel assets. And with that comes everything marine, mm-hmm. right? So we are marine firefighters. We are cross-trained to do both. So 1 minute you can be operating the boat, responding to a police call for service. Next thing you get the call saying there's a vessel fully engulfed and we have to switch out. And it's a mindset shift. It's a uniform switch. It's a tactical approach switch. Mm-hmm. And we have to coordinate with land-based fire departments. And we have an amazing fire team that does that. They make sure that we coordinate and we train with land-based fire departments, and we have standard operating guidelines for each marina that we go to in the respective cities. So that's what's unique. Also, we have a very unique international dive team. So our our dive team has traveled overseas to train other countries in underwater evidence collection. And that was a huge undertaking by actually Assistant Chief Geary and some of his partners, Captain Woodward. We're all part of the development of that course and training of that course.
Amazing.
And they're instrumental in the success of that we have here in the Bay, from evidence recovery to critical incidents that happen in the water, stuff like that.
And you also work with the Navy, of course.
We work with the Navy. Our communication center is co-located with the Coast Guard. We have great relationships with the Coast Guard. Mm-hmm. We do a lot of joint operations when it comes to vessels in the Bay and their operations, one of which is, charters operating illegally. Right. We have vessels that, we have a derelict vessel program, Right. Unfortunately, people just abandon their boats and we're left to deal with the environmental issues that those cause. So Coast Guard gets involved in that. We also have a big mission at the airport.
I was going to say, yeah, people don't know it, but when you go to the airport, those are your officers. And usually they've got some 4-legged officers along with them.
We have a K-9 team, yes. We have a K-9 team that is primarily located at the airport, but they are a regional asset. They're explosives detection K-9s, and they respond all over the county when there's bomb calls or threats related to explosives.
Well, we're going to be able to showcase some of your amazing officers and teams, your explosive detection K-9s, maybe some of your firestorm vessels at our gala coming up. So this is our inaugural, this is the Foundation's inaugural gala on June 16th at 6 p.m. Chief's going to be there. She'll be a star. We're going to put her up on the stage and make her all nervous and embarrassed, but
uncomfortable.
And uncomfortable. No, you're great. So if anyone's interested, they can go to our website at sdharborpolicefoundation.org and take a look at events, and it'll talk a little bit more about that great program we're going to have, which will also include a lot of stuff with Perkins K-8 School. And I need to just thank you, Chief, so much for allowing. You have 9 of your officers that volunteer, as in on their own time, they've adopted Perkins K-8 School in the Barrio Logan, where they have 425 or so students, of which 40% are homeless. We've got 90% are food insecure. We have, below the economic guidelines. We've got a lot of poverty. We have a lot of issues. But your 9 officers show up, even during the pandemic. They were on the Zoom calls with the kids. But when they show up on campus, I love watching it. The kids flock them. It's like, a bunch of birds going after something on the ground. They just hundreds of these kids come up and they hug the officers, and they love seeing them, and there's such a calming effect, which is all part of what we wanted to do with the foundation, which was help these kids develop strong bonds with people other than their own neighbors, people that have professions like law enforcement officers, lawyers, fire department, whatever. And so it's really an honor to have them that adopt the school.
We're very proud of the work we've done with Perkins Elementary. I know our officers look forward to these events to make sure they can interact and have fun and be a different guiding light for them, and have someone that these kids trust to go to and look up to and potentially one day emulate.
Exactly. We love them to all become cops. Chief, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. It's always a great pleasure to spend time with you.
Thank you for having me.
Very informative. Oh, of course, anytime. Just let me know whenever you want to show up. And I want to tell everybody that my next guest is going to be the chairman of the Port of San Diego Commissioners, Rafael Castellanos, and he'll be with us in a couple of weeks. I hope you join us for an insightful, fun, informative conversation.